Johnny. It's over!
Nothing is over! Nothing! You just don't turn it off! It wasn't my war, but somebody wouldn't let us win! And I see all those maggots at the airport protesting me, spitting, and all kinds of vile crap! Who are they to protest me, huh? Who are they? Unless they've been me and been there and know what the hell they're yelling about!
It was a bad time for everyone, Rambo. It's all in the past now.
For you! Back here, there's nothing!
Welcome back, people. It's your friendly neighborhood Dragonslayer here, bringing you the latest on TV, movies, and sometimes gaming. Before we begin today's topic, I just want to say that if you enjoy this video, then please like, share, subscribe, and turn on all the notifications to see more. It's only a few seconds of clicking for you, but for me it means the world if I was able to entertain you. Also, leave a comment down below letting me know what your reactions were to this video, as I will try to respond to as many of your comments as I can. And who knows, I might just post the top comments I found interesting or funny in the next one. Now, this episode won't contain Elrond, Gil-galad, or the dwarves, unfortunately, and it's somehow still just as boring as the last two episodes.
Well, shit!
However, it's only 3 arcs this time, so we have the Galadriel x Halbrand arc, the Harfoot Arc, and the Arondir arc. So let's get right to it. So we begin with Galadriel waking up in the ship from episode 2, wondering where she is, plus noticing that her brother's dagger is missing, and then Walmart Aragorn Halbrand shows up to give Galadriel some food, which she gladly takes. Stopping herself from eating the food, however, Galadriel asks Halbro if the people that saved them are either their saviors or captors. Halbro then proceeds to not answer her question and instead tells her that her food isn't poisoned. For humans, that is, if that's her concern.
Gotcha, bitch!
The latch of the ship is then opened to let them out, and they encounter Numenoreans with cardboard armor designs looking at her in a very weird way.
Run, bitch! Run!
And then we are introduced to Elendil, who eases the tension by saying that he is surprised that one of the Eldar is on board his ship, even though I'm quite sure he already knew what she was when he rescued her.
No shit.
He also tells Galadriel to be at ease because he is obliged to deliver them to his betters and that they will answer their questions there. He also tells them to see for themselves where they are arriving at. But when Halbro, being very confused, asks him what he means by this, he just gives them the very vague answer of home. And then it shows Galadriel noticing that Elendil is the one that has her dagger.
Damn you! Wanna fight, huh? Fight me!
It then shows several CGI shots of the ship coming into what is probably the harbor of the port city of Romena, which I do have to say is very good, as usual, in that department of the CGI and practical visuals. And the obvious inspiration behind the city design is taken from ancient Mediterranean civilizations like the ancient Greeks and Romans. Moving on, we then cut to the group landing in the port city, and then they are taken to the Hall of Kings in the capital city of Armenelos, which is a very good distance away from the port city they landed at, by the way. I'll show a map right above so you can see exactly what I mean. But they don't even bother showing like any sort of transition to point this big thing out. Regardless, the trio walks through the city while Halbro notices how badly he wants to smash some steel, man.
Coincidence? I think not!
Eventually, they arrive at the Hall of Kings, where a debate of some sort is going on, and the royal guard tells Elendil that he cannot proceed because it hasn't ended yet. He then tells the guard it's an important matter, which leads to him moving away to show our washed-up Galadriel, and the guard acts like she's a muggle or something, and proceeds to let them through. Halbro then suggests to Galadriel before seeing the queen for her to act respectful towards her, because they need her on their side, and to kneel before her as a sign of respect. That is until he is made to look like a fool by Spartacus Tarmiriel, who tells them that in Numenor no one kneels.
Excuse me, what?
Yes, that's her. Don't ask me why her cousin in the lore are Pharazôn, the guy on the right, is white and looks like Zeus.
No way! Yes way!
Moving on, Tarmiriel demands Galadriel to state her purpose, and Galadriel introduces herself Daenerys Targaryen style and starts the following zero fucks given statements to royalty in front of her entire council, while making Elendil look like the biggest idiot in Numenor for saving her.
Galadriel of the Noldor, daughter of the Golden House of Finarfin, commander of the northern armies of High King Gil-galad.
You serious?
A man and an elf, together.
Thanks, Captain Obvious.
Circumstances arose.
We are companions by chance,
Asshole!
met on the open sea. All we ask is that Numenor continue his mercy and grant us ship's passage to Middle-earth.
In generations since a ship of Numenor was permitted to make such a journey on an elf's behalf.
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
It is because of the elves that you were given this island. Our ancestors were not given anything.
Gotcha, bitch!
Then if blood be the price of passage, I will pay. One way or another, I will depart. I welcome you to try. I have no need of your welcome. And you are quickly wearing out yours. Guards!
However, Halbro diffused the spicy situation by proposing to the Queen Regent that they should stay on the island for a few days until their request can be approved. Our Pharazôn then says they must stay there for exactly 3 days, but Galadriel must be restricted to the palace grounds. Of course, Galadriel disagrees with this, and she says that she will not be made a prisoner in Numenor. And look, we all know that this rule is going to be eventually broken soon, because Galadriel is a strong female character, and no old man is going to keep her in her place.
You're goddamn right.
Halbro then proceeds to pickpocket Elendil of Galadriel's dagger and gives it back to her while still being in plain view of the entire council.
You what?
I guess this man really likes to flirt in a very public way. Like Jesus Christ, he's also trying to get both of them killed. One funny thing. Also, Tarmiriel, in that scene, the editing was so bad, they literally showed right after that a scene of Tarmiriel looking in the general direction where Halbrand gives Galadriel the dagger, and she acts like she hasn't even seen him do this. And she also asks our Pharazôn who Elendil is, even though he is part of one of the noble houses of Numenor, and his father Amandil rules the entire western region of Andustar. And I guess we're just going to gloss over that in the show too, since they're painting her to be this very incompetent Queen Regent.
You are stupid.
And we also get a pointless 3-minute introduction to Isildur and some made-up sister named Earian. That's not even worth talking about that much, since this entire 3-minute sequence, it doesn't contribute anything to the plot.
Fucking wrong! What the fuck is going on?
And then we get a shot of the White Tree of Numenor, Nimloth, while Tarmiriel is giving exposition basically about its religious representation to the Numenoreans, and as a reminder of their oath to the Valar of never sailing west and respecting and worshipping Eru. And let me just put it this way. No non-book reader is going to understand anything that she has said.
Oh, you've got to be kidding me.
This show seems to want to sound cool and epic, but at the same time alienate the majority of the people that are going to be watching the show, which are not book fans. These are people that are mostly going to be movie fans from the Peter Jackson movies that never bothered to read the books or lightly read them and don't remember everything. But with that out of the way, basically Tar Muriel asks Elendil's opinion on that whole backstory of the religious backstory of the White Tree of Numenor, Nimloth, and Elendil answers by saying that he is not into living his life guessing after signs and portents.
Nice.
She then cuts the small talk by telling Elendil that his name is an uncommon one and asks him what it means. He responds by saying his name means one who loves the stars in Numenor, but she says that's not the only translation that it has. He responds by saying that his name in the tongue of the Eldar means elf friend, and then she proceeds to ask him if he truly is, as his title says, an elf friend.
Asshole!
And she questions his decision to bring an elf to Numenor, implies that his actions could be interpreted as treason, and then as punishment, she makes him guard Galadriel while she is in Numenor, which I think is a pretty bad punishment anyways.
No, God! No, God, please, no! 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 No!
He's also given his iconic sword of Narsil, which doesn't make any sense because that sword has been passed down through his family for generations since most likely the First Age. And one thing I do want to mention, so we skip a little bit ahead and we see royal guards looking for Spider-Man Galadriel, who's literally right above them.
You fucking donkey!
And when she sees they're gone, she starts to walk around the city covering her ears, and for some reason, no civilian reacts to her presence.
Jesus Christ! Really?
You would think that if someone like her did what she did in the court, rumors would spread quickly about her, and she would be easily detectable. But nah, man, I guess I must be imagining things. Like, this show really is not trying to use common sense, once again.
Stop it. Get some help.
Anyway, she's thinking about stealing a ship when Elendil tells her that it's not a good idea to steal one if she is still a guest of Numenor. And then she proceeds to show her ungratefulness by telling Elendil that he shouldn't have brought her here in the first place and that she'll take her chances stealing the small ship. Elendil then tells her he could call the guards at any moment, and she then threatens to shank him with her knife if he even dares to do this. Our strong, independent female hero, everyone.
What? What the fuck?
And Elendil then proceeds to stop her from doing something stupid with the fact that if she does this, she's going to end up in jail even further away from her destination. And Galadriel responds by basically saying, "Who are you, mortal, to talk to me like that as if you know who I am?" And then he claps back by saying that it's because she has the two worst traits that remind him of his children. Bro, that's cold.
God damn.
She then pulls away the knife and he gets on her good graces by speaking Elvish Quenya. And she asks him how he knows her language, and he says that everyone in the land he was raised in speaks it, and that is still taught in their Hall of Lore. Galadriel then asks where this Hall of Lore is located at, and he tells her that it's a quarter day's ride away, even though, well, again, here's the map of Numenor, and this is where they must go at full horse gallop or trot, where most likely the Hall of Lore is located at. I'm quite sure that's a little bit more than a quarter day's ride, unless those horses are special.
Imagination.
Well, look, on the way there, we get a very long slow motion scene of Galadriel galloping, and then a shot of I think the only time, or one of the few times, I've ever seen Galadriel happy in this show.
Oh my God! Wow!
She makes it to the Hall of Lore, where we get some more pointless exposition about Elrond's twin brother Elros, who became the first king of Numenor. That again, non-book readers will not understand the context of this, while we're being shown a 14-year-old's artwork depiction of the event where I guess Elrond reunited with his brother later on in time.
Yes, I can definitely smell shite.
We then find out that Sauron is the dumbest villain in history, because the mark he branded on Finrod's shoulder before killing him is actually a map of the Southlands that was made to guide orcs to what would eventually become Mordor, which, in other words, basically this mark was to guide orcs to this new land in the Southlands in order to establish a Dark Kingdom.
Hey, yo, what the fuck?
But look, let's just move on, because that revelation, when I heard it the first time, made me lose 2 brain cells, and the more I keep watching this show, the more my brain cells are in danger of going extinct. So, going back to the port city really quick, Halbrow's trying to convince the local smith to let him work at his shop, but the man tells him that he can only employ people to craft steel in Numenor if they have a guild crest. Disappointed, Halbrow starts to eat his CGI clam meat until he starts to get bullied by some random Numenorean citizens. And Halbrow is about to fight them all until he notices that one of them has a guild crest on them. He pretends to be thankful for Numenor's hospitality by putting the next round of drinks on him, even though we are never shown how he gets all this money. I guess he pickpockets people. And proceeds to, ironically, pickpocket that same Numenorean with the crest and walks away with it. He walks into a street corner, very proud of himself, until he realizes that the man and his crew caught on to his little trick. Knowing he's been busted, Halbrow tells the man that he found him out, and tries to willingly return the crest to him to prevent any further problems. And look, before I continue with this, I do need to point out something. So on the scene where Halbrow is flipping the coin and looking back proud of himself, you can actually clearly see in the previous shot that that same group of men are already closely following him and are literally right behind him. So, look, that right there, this is an example of how bad the editing on this show is. I wouldn't say all the time, but a fair portion of the time the editing is pretty bad. Especially, it's not the first time I've seen this in the show.
Yeah, no shit, Sherlock.
Now, going back to the actual scene, of course the man and his gang aren't going to let this sort of thing slide even if Halbrow gives everything back. And that's when they basically start to bitch slap him and they begin beating him up. And then as this is happening to him, Halbrow is warning them that he doesn't want to be forced to defend himself. But when he is pushed to a corner, that is where he just out of nowhere turns into John Wick and proceeds to ferociously beat the shit out of everyone in that group. Like, he actually breaks some man's arm and smashes the Numenorean guy with the guild crest head. He just bashes it into the freaking stone. And he is only stopped by the royal guard who take him to jail right afterwards. And of course he then meets Galadriel in that jail, who proceeds to reveal to the entire audience that Halbrow's the exiled king of the Southlands.
Oh my.
And no, they don't tell you how much time has passed between Halbrow's imprisonment and Galadriel's return to the capital city.
Why not, you stupid bastard?
He does warn her that his ancestors made a blood oath to Morgoth long ago to serve him, and she responds to that by saying that this time they both have the chance to redeem their bloodlines. I need to mention something. This is more like a little side scene that was thrown in there in order to extend screen time.
Oh, there's a big surprise! That's an incredible... I think I'm gonna have a heart attack and die from that surprise!
But basically, it's a scene where Elendil's made-up daughter got accepted to the Builders Guild, or in other words, got accepted into college, and Isildur has this, it's not a face, Dad, argument with Elendil, where it ends with Isildur just disappearing off frame when his made-up sister gets accepted into college, and he finds out that Isildur was the one that inspired his sister to reapply again.
You're a fucking dumbass.
Oh, and Tarmiriel, we get a scene of her, like right near the end, where she's telling her sick father in the room of a tower that he's, I guess, imprisoned in, that the worst outcome that they feared has come, that an elf has arrived. Which is so damn dumb. Since, you know, they're saying that this king, which is Palantir, by the way, was an elf friend. That because he was such an elf friend, he got exiled. So it should have been the best outcome for him. It should have been great news for him. But I guess they really want to frame him as like, as this guy that's just terrified of such things.
Oh, you can smell the shit from 5 miles away.
But with that ends the longest arc in this episode. So we're now going to move on to the actual Harfoot Arc.
Fuck you, asshole.
Fuck you, asshole.
So continuing where we left off on episode 2, we see the Harfoot start their festival and constantly chanting, "Nobody goes off trail and nobody walks alone," while Lenny Henry acts like he's leading a Boy Scout troop. And we then cut to Nori's father talking to her mother about concerns she is having with his leg being too injured. Well, by leg I should probably say the ankle, being too injured to properly pull the cart. And he assures her that he will leave no one in his family behind by staying in the front of the caravan, or I guess convincing Lenny Henry to have his family be in the front of the caravan due to their condition. Also, we find out that Nori's mom in this show is actually her stepmom. She did have a white mother in the past, but I guess they're trying to imply that she actually died. And her little sibling and her are actually from that first marriage. So this is a second marriage, which is not... It's unusual, but it can happen with hobbits. Though again, very, very unusual.
Oh no! Anyway.
Fast forwarding... This is nighttime, by the way. We see Nori engaging in some sneaky antics to steal the page showing the star constellation that the Meteor Man showed her from Lenny Henry's caravan. And she almost snatches the page, but is forced to sneak under the desk inside Lenny Henry's cart in order to avoid detection by him. And Poppy notices Nori about to be found out, which causes her to say crazy shit in front of Lenny Henry in order to distract him. And look, long story short, after some goofy dialogue and antics, she steals the actual page undetected. We are then shown a scene where Lenny Henry begins saying the names of people they had to leave behind because they had to keep moving one by one. By that I mean he's saying the names of these people one by one, not that they were moving one by one. One of those people apparently were Poppy's parents, and he says all this shit, like these names, in front of everyone, not giving a crap how people are going to feel. Damn! And meanwhile, every time they say a name and why they were left behind, everyone says, "We wait for you," like there's some damn cult, like from Charles Manson or some shit like that.
Hold up. Wait a minute. Something ain't right.
And look, for a people that just said at the beginning that no one goes off trail or walks alone, they're being total hypocrites by saying that they'll leave your ass behind if you don't keep up during the migration.
But you one crazy ass bitch!
And while this is going on, Meteor Man somehow is able to sneak into the camp, knows where Nori's cart is at, even though we're never shown a scene of him seeing her cart, and takes the constellation page with him, proceeds to idiotically put the paper too close to the fire in order to read it, which obviously ends up burning it, gets tangled up by the covers of the festival tents, and proceeds to fall on his ass while scaring the hobbits.
Well, shit.
And yeah, I'm not kidding. That's exactly what happens. It sounds ridiculous, but it really is what happened. Well, now that the cat's out of the bag, because guess what? Right as he opens himself up, you know, he literally yells Nori's name out loud. And so that's when the entire tribe finds out that she's actually been helping this human the entire time. Now, we all know he's not human, but they don't know that. So, due to her breaking the Harfoot rules of concealment, Lenny Henry punishes her entire family. Even though he mentioned earlier that she's the young one, the young ones make mistakes, he punishes her entire family by placing their cart at the end of the line, which is basically the equivalent of giving them a death sentence, since Nori's dad hasn't fully healed his foot yet.
Surprise, motherfucker!
And my god, these people are terrible. I really have nothing else to say. They're just terrible. They now somehow made the Harfoots unlikable.
1 hour later.
It then cuts to the last scene where it shows them struggling to pull the cart while being left behind. However, they are saved because Meteor Man shows up to help them pull their cart forward, and that arc ends there. So now we're going to move to the final one, which is Arondir's arc.
Oh, God, it's so hot out here.
Yeah, you knew it was going to be hot when you heard that lonesome slide guitar and that hawk's cry.
Hey, this ain't break time. Get back to work.
So we pick up right where we left off, and Arondir gets dragged around an orc slave camp that's being covered by sheets while it shows orcs leering at him. And it shows a few scenes of the people from other villagers that were captured, plus Arondir himself gets chained up.
Oh no! Anyway.
Now, I didn't want to point this out, but the showrunners really want us to know how bad orcs are by making them very white and having them whip everyone constantly, especially Arondir, if you know what I mean.
I don't like where this is going.
However, orcs are creatures of darkness, and if I remember correctly, orc slavers give equal rights of punishment and torture to anyone that's under their supervision. I don't think they discriminate by skin color is what I'm trying to say.
It's all there, black and white, clear as crystal. You get nothing. You lose. Good day, sir.
Anyway, Arondir finds out that all the elves from the Watchtower have been captured as well, and yes, we are never shown a scene of how this even happens. We are just basically told to accept it, without questioning a single bit.
We still have the Orb of Confusion. Take this!
And we are then shown a scene of that same set hours later, I assume, where Arondir notices that orcs react like vampires to sunlight unless they cover their bodies to block out the sun. Look, again, don't ask me how they came to that conclusion. I know that's not how it works, but that's how they interpreted it.
What the fuck is this? I don't know.
Regardless, Arondir mentions his forgettable Amazon friend that the tunnels the orcs are making them dig reach all the way to Hordern, at least, and possibly beyond that. His friend then mentions that the orcs seem to be frantically searching for something of value, and Arondir believes it might be a weapon, but his friend says that he is not absolutely sure about that, because, again, the information they have is very scarce. But then, Spartacus Watchwarden further elaborates by saying that these orcs seem to be fervently searching for that said weapon, for a leader that they unusually revere named Adar, which is Elvish Sindarin for father, by the way.
Coincidence? I think not!
And Arondir asks the Watchwarden why the orcs would refer to their leader through an Elvish word. The Watchwarden believes that this name may simply be one of the many used by Sauron to conceal his identity in Middle-earth, and tells them both that the nearest tree line that they can find when they're allowed to look above the tunnel that they should find it in order to plan an escape at noon when the sun is at its highest. The Watchwarden believes that if this plan works, at least one of them will be allowed to escape in order to bring back a strong force of elves to crush the orcs. They then get interrupted by orcs who tell them to get back to work, and the Watchwarden tells them that there's a tree in front of them, that the roots are in the way, but that they can cut around them and still make progress. The orcs, being orcs of course, they don't give a shit about a damn tree being in the way, and tells the elves to cut it down. And this almost starts a fight between them, because guess what? I mean, it's kind of obvious at this point. Elves love trees and nature. Until, of course, the orc taskmaster comes into the picture. He rewards them for being strong of will by giving them water to drink and assuring to them that it's not poisoned, even though no one should ever trust an orc in this universe.
You fucking donkey!
And the Watchwarden and Arondir drink the water, and they seem to be fine. And when Arondir's friend drinks the water, the orc taskmaster just slices his throat in front of everyone as an example of punishment for disobedience. Arondir then gets very sad for his friend, that, again, no one in the audience gives a shit about.
Hey, look at that! Look at that! No shit!
Because we didn't get enough time to actually know him as a character. And then decides to become a pariah, I guess, to save the rest of his group by apologizing to the tree before cutting it down, while the orcs are laughing maniacally at him in the background like a bunch of cartoon villains. Fast forwarding a bit, noon rolls around and the elves begin their escape attempt. The Watchwarden and Arondir begin their attack by giving a few of the orc slavers a literal kung fu chain whip to the face, which starts a riot inside the camp and allows the elves to simultaneously link all their chains together to break them in unison. One of the elves manages to free himself very quickly, but gets just as quickly dispatched by a flying axe to the back. And I'm not kidding when I say this. Right after that whole event happens, a tug of war begins between the orcs and slaves, where this WWE moment happens.
Randy Orton in a place we've never seen him before. Watch out, watch out, watch out, watch out! Oh my God! KO in midair!
The orc taskmaster then decides to solve this sticky situation by releasing the Wog, which looks like a turd straight out of Satan's asshole, by the way.
Ugly motherfucker.
And then it proceeds to kill so many of these highly trained elves that supposedly survived the War of Wrath to pieces, until it's eventually killed with a spear throw by Arondir before it's about to kill the Watchwarden. And again, guys, these are supposed to be professional soldiers. Like, one of them should easily be able to take out 10 orcs, especially with a fucking chain. But whatever. And a warg? Jesus Christ, even easier. They should have just thrown a spear at it, which literally the first guy that attacked it had a spear, and he didn't think about just throwing it at the damn thing. They would have easily taken care of it.
Fucking wrong! What the fuck is going on?
But anyway, we find out through Arondir that when his boss climbed out of the pit, he actually ended up getting shot by arrows from orcs in the surface that are somehow acting completely fine despite the sun being out and at its highest. And Arondir then gets recaptured and taken to the leader of the orcs, who we get a blurry image of, and it seems to indicate through what I was able to see through that blur that he's probably is going to be introduced as one of the first elves, or one of the first elves that were corrupted into the first orcs by Morgoth long ago. Which I guess makes more sense when you take his name translation into account. But with that, Arondir's arc is over so far with this.
Why are you running? Why are you running?
So, number 1, the Numenoreans were a very tall race of humans. Besides being able to live 3 times the lifespan of a normal human, with their royal bloodlines being able to live 400 plus years, The average height of these blessed humans was about 6'4", while Isildur was mentioned in the books to be 7 feet tall, and his father Elendil being 7'11" tall. Also, Numenoreans were known to be physically stronger than other races of men, which is shown by how they could draw easily heavy steel bows and tower over even the tallest orcs easily. Are you seriously telling me that Amazon, with their huge CGI budget, couldn't show the obvious defining physical characteristics of this race easily? Oh wait, I actually know why they can't. Because the description of their height and physical strength is actually found in the appendix section of the Unfinished Tales book, specifically in the Disaster of the Gladden Fields appendix side of that story. Which, guess what? They don't have access to those rights. So there's your answer.
Oh my god, bro. Oh, hell no, man. What the fuck, man?
Number 2, orcs don't react to sunlight like vampires. The only thing that happens to most orcs when they come into contact with the sun is that they get physically weakened, and it psychologically damages them, if you will, since they were creatures created by the darkness of Morgoth, who also came to hate the sun as well, due to it very clearly representing the light of life and hope in the world, when they were bred for the opposite. It's such a big deal, actually, that Sauron uses his dark sorcery to cover the entire sky around Minas Tirith in dark clouds so his orcs and dark creatures could fight Gondor at full strength without fearing for the sun. And that's also why they were so ferocious. Though orcs serving Sauron were ridiculously ferocious regardless. Number 3. Numenorean armor didn't look like cardboard cutouts. Okay, in the lore, Tolkien describes Numenor as being the most advanced human civilization to ever exist, and their armor, weapons, and military training were said to be the best that's ever come out of mankind. It was due to this legacy that Gondor was able to hold out for as long as it did in the Third Age against Sauron, even though it was so diminished by the War of the Ring. Elendil, by the way, this is number 4, I almost went a little bit ahead, but number 4 is that Elendil never had a daughter in the lore, and this was all made up for the show. He only had an unnamed wife that gave birth to his 2 known sons, which are Isildur and Anarion. Number 5, Galadriel never went to Numenor and disrespectfully demanded a ruling monarch of the most powerful human kingdom in the world to give her a ship to leave the island. This was again made up for the show.
You what?
And last one, number 6, Tar Midiel never ruled Numenor as Queen Regent. In the lore, she was about to inherit the throne due to her being the only child of Tar Palantir, but her cousin Ar-Pharazôn forced her to marry him in order to quickly usurp power in Numenor. Also, she was described as having very beautiful dark hair and very clear white skin that made her so beautiful, in fact, that I guess it would make sense that her cousin would want to really marry her. I mean, it's still messed up, but at least Tolkien gives you an idea of how some men would go mad over this kind of beauty. He took inspiration from that, I'm quite sure, from ancient mythologies, especially Greek tragedies. There's a lot of these kinds of stories in Greek tragedies. But that's the last point on the lore breaks. Now I'm going to get to the actual closing thoughts.
Oh, thank God.
So for this episode, I'm actually going to give it a 2.5 out of 10, which I think is the lowest rating I've given an episode so far. Because not only were the visuals and music the only saving grace of this episode for the 3rd time, but because they also committed the gravest sin that a TV show can do, in my opinion, which is to bore your audience for 3 hours straight, or in the first 3 episodes, which is supposed to be the ones that are meant to hook the audience. and they bored the shit out of me.
I think I can smell shite.
This episode was used once again for half-assed boring exposition, and we eventually get some action at the end with the slave riot, but this only lasted a few minutes. The Harfoots are used as pointless comedic relief to fill in episode screen time, along with those pointless scenes of Isildur and the non-canon daughter and the discussion at the end with Elendil. And they somehow managed to fuck up Numenor with a bunch of lore breaks. Like, we're talking, they fucked up Numenor with the info that they already had, and also by adding more lore breaks on top of that. Even though they spent so much money on that physical harbor set that they were so very proud of. And oh my god, I could give less of two shits about that if the rest of your product is crap. And Galadriel is an even bigger a-hole than in the last 2 episodes combined, which is a record, honestly. I've never seen a non-evil character become such a tier S asshole so quickly. And she becomes even more dislikable when she threatens to shank the future High King of Arnor and Gondor that will eventually be pivotal in forming the last alliance against Sauron near the end of the Second Age. Yeah, nice going there, Galadriel.
Not a great plan.
Also, the pacing of the story is once again all over the place, and I must mention that I'm actually re-mentioning this again because it really annoyed me. How they made Sauron look like such a dumbass villain. That is just... The revealing of that mark, you ruined Sauron in one go. Even though Sauron is described in the lore to be such a careful tactician and manipulator, you make him look like he is just a dumbass that just got lucky because everyone that's against him is even dumber. And look, I really don't want to make this video any longer than it already is. Like, I haven't even checked the runtime, but it's probably going to be more than 40 minutes. So I'm just going to say this. The only thing this episode is good for is to provide sleep therapy to stressed out people due to the boredom and cringe it'll induce, which will accelerate that said result. And with that, my friends, I just want to say thank you so much for watching the video. And really, I don't know how many times I have to say this. I'm very thankful that you guys are enjoying the content, and I hope that I can hear some more feedback from you guys, because at the end of the day, I'm doing these videos mostly to voice my opinions regarding the show, but also because I want to see if there are other people like me that agree with what I have to say, and if not, for them to show their points. I'm trying to promote normal discussion here, and I will not criticize, I will not basically alienate you like the rest of the media out there is trying to do with the fandom. If there are some things I don't agree with, then fine, I'll say I don't agree with them, but I'll still respect your opinion. So with that, friends, thank you so much, and Namarie.